Welcome back to Narrations. This month's stories are about new beginnings, quiet transformations, and the strange ways life forces us to change when we refuse to listen the first time. Tonight's movie is Groundhog Day, a deceptively simple story that uses repetition to explore meaning, responsibility, despair, and ultimately growth. This is not just a comedy. It's a story about what happens when time stops moving, and a person finally has no excuse to keep living the same way. The story begins with Phil Connors, a television weather reporter in Pittsburgh. Phil is talented, confident, and deeply unhappy, though he would never admit it. He believes he is smarter than everyone around him and resents his job, his coworkers, and the town he's forced to cover every year. To Phil, life feels like an endless inconvenience. Every February, Phil is sent to the small town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, to report on the annual Groundhog Day celebration. And every year, he treats it with thinly veiled contempt. He mocks the tradition. He mocks the people. He mocks the town. Phil doesn't hide his arrogance. He sees himself as someone destined for better things, bigger markets, more important work, a more glamorous life. Everything about Punxsutawney feels beneath him. Traveling with Phil are his producer Rita and cameraman Larry. Rita is intelligent, kind, and observant. She takes her job seriously and approaches life with sincerity. Phil dismisses her warmth as naivete, though something about her grounded nature quietly unsettles him. They arrive in Punxsutawney under gray skies and cold air. The town buzzes with excitement for the next morning's ceremony. Locals gather, laugh, celebrate, genuinely happy to be part of something familiar and shared. Phil watches it all with irritation. He wants out. He delivers his report with forced enthusiasm, then returns to the hotel already counting the minutes until he can leave. But overnight, a snowstorm traps them in town. And when Phil wakes up the next morning, something is very wrong. The alarm clock clicks on. The radio plays the same song. The same cheerful DJ announces the same Groundhog Day celebration. At first, Phil assumes it's a coincidence. Then he steps outside. The same people greet him with the same words. The same events unfold in the same order. The same moments repeat with eerie precision. Phil soon realizes the impossible truth. He is reliving the same day. Again. And again. And again. February 2nd never ends. At first, Phil reacts with confusion, then disbelief, then curiosity. He tests the boundaries of this phenomenon, experimenting with small changes, saying different things, making different choices. But the outcome is always the same. No matter what he does, the day resets. There are no consequences. No tomorrow. No progress. Phil is trapped. As days pass, though time technically doesn't move, Phil's initial panic gives way to something else. Opportunity. If nothing matters, then everything is allowed. Phil begins indulging himself completely. He eats without restraint. He lies without guilt. He manipulates situations for personal gain. He uses his knowledge of the day to impress people, avoid responsibility, and pursue pleasure. Most notably, he tries to win over Rita. Phil studies her carefully, memorizing her preferences, her stories, her values, not to understand her, but to perform the version of himself he thinks she'll want. Each attempt fails. Sometimes subtly. Sometimes spectacularly. No matter how well he imitates sincerity, Rita always senses something hollow beneath it. Phil grows frustrated. If he can control everything else, why not this? As the repetition stretches on, indulgence loses its thrill. Pleasure becomes routine. Manipulation becomes boring. Phil realizes that even in a world without consequences, he is still unsatisfied. That realization marks the beginning of something darker. The endless day stops feeling like freedom. It starts feeling like punishment. Phil spirals. He becomes reckless, destructive, and increasingly hopeless. He tries to escape the town. He tries to break the loop. And eventually, he begins to flirt with the idea that if nothing can change, then nothing is worth enduring. Despair sets in. The same day, over and over, strips away Phil's distractions. Without tomorrow, without progress, he is forced to confront himself. His arrogance, his selfishness, his emptiness. And for the first time, Phil begins to ask a question he's avoided his entire life. If nothing changes, why change at all? As the endless repetition continues, Phil Connors sinks deeper into despair. The indulgence that once felt liberating now feels meaningless. The jokes fall flat. The pranks no longer amuse him. The town that once irritated him now feels like a prison with invisible walls. Every morning, the same song plays on the radio. Every morning, the same people say the same words. Every morning, Phil wakes up knowing that nothing he does will carry forward. Time has stopped, but he has not. Phil's frustration turns inward. Without the illusion of progress, he can no longer distract himself with ambition or resentment. There is no promotion to chase. No escape to plan. No future to fantasize about. Only himself. The despair becomes overwhelming. Phil begins trying to end the loop in the most extreme ways possible. He risks his life recklessly, believing that death might be the only way out. But each time, he wakes up again, unharmed, unchanged, still trapped on February 2nd. The message is cruelly clear. There is no shortcut out. No reset button. No external solution. Eventually, Phil stops trying to escape. And in that surrender, something unexpected happens. With nothing left to chase and nothing left to lose, Phil begins to look outward instead of inward. He starts paying attention, not to exploit situations, but to understand them. He notices the people around him. The old man who wanders the streets alone. The woman who struggles with her marriage. The townspeople whose lives are small, repetitive, and quietly difficult. Phil begins helping them. Not for recognition. Not for reward. Not because it will change tomorrow. But because it matters today. He learns to catch the boy who falls from a tree every afternoon. He helps townspeople avoid accidents. He listens when someone needs to talk. He offers kindness without expectation. And for the first time, the day feels full. Phil also begins to invest in himself, not to impress others, but to grow. He learns to play the piano. He studies poetry. He reads. He practices patience. Time, though frozen, becomes meaningful. His relationship with Rita changes as well. This time, Phil does not manipulate or perform. He does not recite rehearsed lines or pretend to be someone else. He simply shows up, curious, honest, present. Rita notices. She sees the difference immediately. Phil is calmer. Kinder. More attentive. He listens without waiting to speak. He helps without asking for credit. He laughs, not cynically, but sincerely. For the first time, Rita feels safe around him. And for the first time, Phil is not trying to control the outcome. The transformation is gradual and unforced. There is no single moment of revelation, no dramatic speech. Phil changes because he has nothing else to do except become better. He accepts that he may be trapped forever. And in accepting that, he finds peace. On one final February 2nd, Phil lives the day not as a challenge to overcome, but as a gift. He helps others naturally. He plays music beautifully at the town celebration. He participates fully, not mocking the tradition, but honoring it. That night, Rita stays with him. And when Phil wakes up the next morning, something is different. The radio plays a news song. The date has changed. Time moves forward. The loop is broken, not because Phil forced it to end, but because he no longer needed it to. Groundhog Day ends on a quiet truth. Life doesn't change because time moves forward. Time moves forward because we change. As part of this month's theme of new beginnings, this story reminds us that transformation isn't about escaping our circumstances. It's about choosing how we show up, again and again. Until growth becomes who we are. Every day offers the same opportunity. To listen. To help. To grow. And sometimes, The only way forward is to stop trying to leave and start living fully where we are. If you enjoyed listening to this narration, please like the video. It helps these stories reach more listeners. Share it with someone who enjoys thoughtful, comforting films. And subscribe for more long-form movie narrations about hope, change, and second chances. Thanks for listening.